Teach Me to Help, Module 1, Lesson 2, Etymology of Communication and Conceptual Definition of Human Interaction Link for People with Disabilities. 1. The evolution of communication and the concept of linking human interaction. Understanding the origin and evolution of the concept of communication. Communication is the process by which individuals share information, ideas, feelings, or emotions with each other. The term communication derives from the Latin comunicare, which means to share or to make known. Communication can be done through verbal or nonverbal language, as well as through signs, symbols, gestures, and facial expressions. The etymology of the term indicates that the act of communication involves a mutual exchange of information and understanding between two or more people. Communication is essential to human relationships and the evolution of society, contributing to collaboration, learning, and personal development. Since ancient times, people have used communication to convey information, ideas, and emotions. In primordial times, human communication was predominantly nonverbal, based on body language, facial expressions, and sounds. With the evolution of language and the emergence of speech, verbal communication became the main way of transmitting information. The development of writing and later communication technology, such as the letter, the telephone, the internet, radically changed the way people interact and connect with each other. The evolution of means of communication throughout human history. Human communication has evolved considerably throughout history, going through various technological and cultural stages. Prehistoric communication. Before the development of written language, people communicated using nonverbal language, pictograms, drawings, and signs. Development of verbal language. The emergence of verbal language revolutionized human communication, allowing people to convey complex and abstract ideas. Invention of writing. The development of writing allowed the recording of information and its transmission over long distances, contributing to the development of culture and education. Invention of printing. The invention of printing facilitated the mass production of books and written materials, expanding access to knowledge. Industrial and technological revolution. Advances in technology such as the telegraph, telephone, radio, television, and the Internet revolutionized communication, shortening distances and facilitating the rapid exchange of information. The impact of modern technologies on communication. Modern technologies have had a significant impact on the way we communicate today. Distance communication. The Internet and mobile technologies have enabled instant communication between people over great distances, facilitating collaboration and rapid information exchange. Globalization and cultural diversity. Technology has reduced language and cultural barriers, facilitating interaction between people from different corners of the world. Changing modes of communication. Social media platforms, messaging apps, and video conferencing have changed traditional modes of communication, allowing expression and interaction in a more interactive and dynamic way. Improved accessibility. Technology has enabled the development of special tools and devices for people with disabilities, facilitating their access to communication and information. The concept of human interaction bridging and its implication in online learning for people with disabilities. The bridging concept of human interaction is fundamental to online learning for people with disabilities, as it facilitates connection and collaboration between participants, contributing to a more effective, inclusive, and empathetic educational experience. Here is how this concept is involved in online learning for people with disabilities. Open and interactive communication. The human interaction link in online courses for people with disabilities involves facilitating open communication and interactivity between learners and educators. Through an active and empathetic dialogue, participants feel encouraged to express their questions, thoughts, and concerns, thus contributing to a better understanding and clarification of the study materials. Creating a learning environment including. The link of human interaction involves creating an inclusive and friendly educational environment that is accessible to all participants, regardless of the type of disability. This environment includes adapting course materials, using assistive technologies, and providing the necessary support so that each learner can actively participate and feel integrated in the learning process. Encouraging collaboration and sharing of ideas. Through the link of human interaction, participants in online courses for people with disabilities are encouraged to collaborate and share ideas with each other. This aspect improves understanding of content and promotes the development of teamwork skills, providing valuable opportunities to learn from different experiences and perspectives. Development of social and emotional skills. The link of human interaction in the online learning process for people with disabilities contributes to the development of social and emotional skills of learners. This involves learning and applying the skills of effective communication, empathy, and mutual respect, essential for positive interpersonal interactions and relationship building. Continuous adaptation and personalization of the learning experience. Through the human interaction link, educators can adapt and personalize the learning experience to meet the individual needs of learners with disabilities. This includes identifying and implementing effective communication strategies, adapting study materials, and providing appropriate support to ensure the academic success of each learner. Benefits of linking human interaction in online learning for people with disabilities. 1. Increase engagement and motivation. A strong human interaction bond motivates participants to be more engaged and value their learning. 2. Improving academic performance. Empathic communication and interactivity lead to better understanding and assimilation of study content. 3. Building a supportive learning community. The human interaction link develops positive and supportive relationships among participants, forming a strong and inclusive learning community. In conclusion, the human interaction link plays an essential role in the online learning process for people with disabilities, facilitating an accessible, empathetic, and effective educational environment where each learner can develop and learn in a positive and supportive way. 2. Adaptation of communication for people with disabilities. Effective communication and collaboration in online courses for people with disabilities. Promoting effective and open communication between all course participants, encouraging collaboration and exchange of ideas. Effective communication and collaboration are essential in online courses for people with disabilities, as they help create an inclusive and interactive learning environment. Here is how these elements can be developed and improved to support the learning process. Using clear and accessible language. The language used in the courses should be clear, concise, and adapted to the level of understanding of the learners. Avoiding technical or complex terms can facilitate communication and ensure access to information for all participants. Promoting active interaction. Encouraging active interaction between learners and instructors through discussions, discussion forums, or group activities can stimulate the exchange of ideas and improve understanding of course content. Providing constructive feedback. Providing clear and constructive feedback in real time or after assessments can help improve performance and clarify complex issues for learners. Group projects and cooperative activities. Integrating group projects and cooperative activities into courses can promote collaboration and the development of social and teamwork skills. Use of collaborative technologies. Using online tools and platforms that facilitate collaboration, such as shared documents, real-time editing tools, and video conferencing platforms, can encourage interaction and information sharing among participants. Promoting inclusion and respect. Encouraging respect and valuing diversity among participants can create a safe environment conducive to collaboration and open communication. Personalize the learning experience. Adapting content and teaching methods to meet the individual needs of learners can increase their engagement and participation in online courses. Ensuring access to resources and technical support. Providing additional resources and access to specialized technical support can improve learners' ability to collaborate and communicate within the online environment. By promoting effective communication and collaboration in online courses for people with disabilities, an interactive and motivating learning environment is created that contributes to the academic and personal structures of all participants. Exploring the adaptation and facilitation of communication for people with different types of disabilities. Adapting and facilitating communication for people with disabilities is essential to ensure their equal access to information and interaction. There are different types of disabilities, including physical, sensory, intellectual, and mental disabilities, and each requires specific approaches to communication. Types of disabilities and their impact on communication. Physical disabilities. Paralysis. People with paralysis may have difficulty using their limbs or speaking, requiring alternative communication solutions such as voice assistive devices or other technologies. Mobility disorders. Mobility disabilities can affect the ability to move or use the hands to communicate. Adaptive technologies such as voice typing systems can be vital. Speech impairments. Certain physical conditions can affect the clarity of speech, requiring the use of sign language or assistive communication devices. Sensory disabilities. Deafness. Deaf people may need sign language or speech-to-text systems to communicate effectively. Blindness. Blind people can use assistive technologies such as touch screens or audio devices to access information and communicate. Intellectual disabilities. Learning disabilities. People with learning disabilities may need adaptive educational materials and individualized instruction to assimilate and communicate information. Autism spectrum disorders. People with autism spectrum disorders can benefit from visual and structured communication methods tailored to their needs. Mental disabilities. Mood disorders. People with mood disorders may need emotional support and communication techniques sensitive to their mental state. Anxiety disorders. Communication can be affected by anxiety, requiring a calm environment and emotional support. The impact on communication. Limitations in language and expression. Certain disabilities may affect the ability to use spoken or written language effectively, requiring alternative methods of communication. Here are some of these aspects. Physical disabilities. Paralysis. People with paralysis may have difficulty using verbal language due to impaired muscle movements. I can use assistive communication devices such as glasses with glass eyes or speech-generating devices to communicate effectively. Mobility disorders. Mobility disorders can affect the ability to use the hands or write conventionally. Voice typing technologies or alternative communication devices such as adaptive keyboards or voice recognition software can be essentially facilitating communication. Sensory disabilities. Deafness. Deaf people may have difficulty developing and using spoken language. The use of sign language or speech-to-text translation devices can be crucial to effective communication. Blindness. Blind people may have difficulty using written language or visual information. The use of touch or audio technologies such as text reading devices or voice assistance software can be essential for effective communication. Intellectual disabilities. Learning disabilities. People with learning disabilities may have difficulty expressing themselves verbally or using words appropriately. Visual communication methods or assistive learning technologies can be useful to facilitate understanding and communication. Mental disabilities. Mood disorders. People with mood disorders may have times when it is difficult for them to express their emotions or feelings. Sensitive communication and emotional support can be essential to facilitate interaction and expression. Reduced accessibility to information. People with disabilities may have difficulty accessing and understanding information due to communication barriers. Reduced accessibility to information can be a significant challenge for people with various types of disabilities. This problem can occur due to specific communication barriers, which may include language barrier, technologic barrier, visual or auditory barrier, cognitive barrier, the language barrier. People with disabilities may have difficulty understanding information presented in a language they do not know or are not proficient in. Solutions may include translating information into plain language or using machine translation technologies to provide access to information in the learner's native language. The language barrier is one of the major challenges faced by people with disabilities in accessing information, especially in the context of online courses. This problem can occur when information is presented in a language that people with disabilities do not know or are not proficient in. Associated challenges. Need for translation. People with disabilities may have difficulty understanding materials or instructions presented in a foreign or unfamiliar language. This may affect their ability to take advantage of online courses or other educational resources. Lack of access to essential information. Difficulty accessing relevant and essential information due to the language barrier can lead to marginalization and exclusion from educational processes. Solutions and approaches. Translation of materials. An effective solution is to translate learning materials into the native language of disabled participants. This may involve manual translation of content by skilled translators or the use of machine translation technologies to provide access to information in the desired language. Using plain language. Presenting information in simple, clear language can be helpful for people with disabilities or limited language skills. Avoiding complex technical terms and stating essential information directly can improve understanding and accessibility. Adaptation of translation and interpretation systems. The use of machine translation and simultaneous interpretation technologies can facilitate real-time communication in online courses, allowing participants with disabilities to interact in their preferred language. Inclusion of linguistic diversity. Promoting linguistic diversity in online courses and adapting content to be accessible in multiple languages can help to remove the language barrier and increase accessibility for all learners. Inclusion of linguistic diversity in online courses is crucial to ensure accessibility and effective participation of people with disabilities. Promoting linguistic diversity involves adapting content and interaction in multiple languages, which can improve understanding and access to information for a wider audience, including those with different types of disabilities. The benefits of linguistic diversity inclusion for people with disabilities. Accessibility for diverse communities. Adapting content into multiple languages facilitates access to information for people with disabilities, regardless of their native language or language skills. This is essential to ensure effective understanding and participation in the courses. Increasing engagement and connection. Providing content in the native language of participants can encourage greater engagement and connection in online courses. People with disabilities feel more included and motivated to interact when information is presented in a language they understand well. Improving communication and interaction. Adapting content into various languages can facilitate communication and interaction between participants, including those with different disabilities. This helps to create a more empathetic and accessible educational environment. Reducing the language barrier. Diversifying the languages available for course content helps reduce the language barrier and provide equal opportunities to access educational information. How to promote the inclusion of linguistic diversity for people with disabilities. Content, translation, and adaptation. Adaptation of educational materials into multiple languages, including translation of texts and videos, to ensure accessibility of information for all participants. Use of translation technologies. Integrating machine translation or subtitling technologies in various languages to facilitate access to course content. Consultation and involvement of local communities. Involve language communities in adapting content to ensure the accuracy and relevance of the information presented. Promoting cultural sensitivity. Encouraging cultural sensitivity in the presentation of content to avoid misinterpretations and create a respectful and inclusive learning environment. The technological barrier. Access to technology. Some people with disabilities may have difficulty using the technology needed to access information online. Technological adaptations, such as assistive devices, specialized software, and accessible interfaces, are essential to ensure accessibility of information. The technological barrier can be a significant challenge for people with disabilities in online courses, limiting their access to information and educational resources. This barrier can be overcome by implementing accessible technological solutions adapted to the specific needs of these people. Here's how it can affect and how it can be managed. The impact of technological barriers for people with disabilities. Limited access to technology. Some people with disabilities may have difficulty using technology, either because of physical, cognitive, or sensory limitations. This may hinder their access to the devices and online platforms needed to attend classes. The need for assistive technologies. To overcome this barrier, people with disabilities may need specialized assistive technologies such as accessibility devices, speech recognition software, special keyboards, or other adapted interfaces. Specialized software. Adapting educational software and platforms to be compatible with assistive technologies is essential. This may include options to customize the interface, the use of touch screens, or voice commands. Accessible interfaces. The development of accessible online interfaces that allow navigation and interaction without depending on a mouse or keyboard can facilitate the participation of people with various disabilities. Solutions for overcoming technological barriers. Use of assistive devices. Providing and promoting the use of assistive devices such as handheld devices or speech recognition software to facilitate access to information and communication. Implementation of adapted interfaces. Development of online interfaces adapted to the specific needs of people with disabilities to ensure accessibility and easy navigation within online courses. Education and technical support. Providing adequate training and technical support for the use of assistive technologies and accessible educational platforms. Testing and continuous improvement. Periodic accessibility testing of online platforms and educational software to identify and remove technological barriers and maintain an optimal experience for users with disabilities. By effectively addressing the technological barrier and implementing adapted technological solutions, accessibility and equal participation of people with disabilities in online courses can be ensured. Visual or auditory barrier. Accessibility of visual or auditory information. People with visual or auditory disabilities may have difficulty accessing information presented in visual or audio formats. Subtitles, alternative descriptions for images, and sign language translations are essential to ensure the accessibility of information. The visual or auditory barrier is one of the major challenges faced by people with disabilities in accessing information in online courses. These barriers can prevent effective understanding and participation in educational materials. Here's how these barriers can affect and how they can be managed. The impact of the visual or auditory barriers. People with visual impairments may have difficulty accessing information presented in visual formats, such as graphs, charts, or videos without captions. People with hearing impairments may have difficulty receiving information presented in audio format, such as audio clips or lectures, without sign language translations or subtitles. Solutions for overcoming visual or hearing barriers. Sign language subtitles and translations. The implementation of video captions and sign language translations for the hearing impaired is essential to ensure the accessibility of auditory information. Alternative descriptions for images. Providing alternative descriptions for images and graphics for visually impaired people to enable full understanding of visual content. Adapting the visual format. Use of accessible, high-contrast formats and adjustable text sizes for the visually impaired. Use of assistive technologies. Promoting and use of assistive technologies such as voice recognition software or screen readers to facilitate access to information and overcome visual and auditory barriers. Solutions for overcoming visual or hearing barriers. Education and awareness. Education and awareness of the needs of people with visual or hearing disabilities among content providers and the online community to promote an inclusive approach in online courses. By properly addressing these visual or auditory barriers and implementing accessible solutions, the accessibility of information and the participation of people with disabilities in online courses can be significantly improved. The cognitive barrier. Complex or confusingly structured information can be a barrier for people with cognitive disabilities. Simplifying information and using clear and concise language can improve information accessibility. Cognitive barriers refers to the difficulty that people with cognitive disabilities may have in accessing and understanding complex or confusingly structured information in online courses. These individuals may have specific needs regarding the presentation of information to facilitate learning and participation. The impact of cognitive barriers. Difficulty understanding complex information. People with cognitive disabilities may have difficulty processing and understanding complex information, such as long instructions or abstract concepts. Confused information structure. Information presented in a confusing or disorganized way can be difficult for people with cognitive disabilities to follow and understand. Solutions for overcoming cognitive barriers. Simplifying information. Reducing the complexity of information by using clear, simple, and concise language. Avoiding jargon and excessive technical terms can make it easier for people with cognitive disabilities to understand. Use of images and graphics. Integrating images and graphics to illustrate concepts or processes can make information easier to understand for people with cognitive disabilities. Proper structuring of information. Organizing information clearly and logically using lists, short paragraphs, and descriptive headings can facilitate learning for people with cognitive disabilities. Adapting the tempo and duration of the presentation. Providing regular breaks and adjusting the pace of information presentation to allow sufficient time for processing and understanding. Testing and constant feedback. Providing the opportunity to test knowledge and receive constant feedback to reinforce understanding and provide additional support. The need for adaptive technologies. Effective communication may require the use of adaptive devices and technologies to facilitate interaction and access to information. The need for adaptive technologies in the context of effective communication for people with disabilities is essential to ensure equitable access and participation in the online environment. Adaptive technologies are specialized tools and devices that are designed to facilitate communication and access to information for people with various types of disabilities. Here are some important aspects related to the need for these technologies. The role of adaptive technologies. Accessibility to information. Adaptive technologies enable the format and content of information to be adapted to make it accessible to people with different disabilities. These include text-to-speech devices, touchscreens, sign language translation software, etc. Facilitating communication. For people with physical or speech disabilities, adaptive technologies can include augmentative and alternative communication devices, AAC, which facilitate verbal or nonverbal interaction online. Adaptability to various needs. Adaptive technologies are designed to adapt to the diverse needs and individual capabilities of people with disabilities, providing customized solutions for each user. The role of adaptive technologies. Increasing independence. The use of adaptive technologies can help increase the independence and autonomy of people with disabilities in accessing information and participating in online activities. Promoting inclusion and equity. Integrating adaptive technologies into the online environment promotes inclusion and equity, ensuring that all participants have equal access to communication and learning opportunities. Examples of adaptive technologies. Speech-to-speech software enables the transformation of written text into speech, making it easier for people with visual impairments or reading difficulties to access information. Adaptive keyboard devices includes keyboards with special features for people with motor disabilities, such as larger keys or voice command functions. Sign language translation software allows text or audio information to be translated into sign language, making communication easier for the hearing impaired. Environmental control devices allows people with physical disabilities to control the online environment using special devices such as motion sensors or eye control devices. The importance of adaptation and empathy. Communication with people with disabilities requires adaptability, empathy, and respect for their individual needs. The importance of accommodation and empathy in communication with people with disabilities is essential to facilitate effective and respectful interaction. Adapting communication and demonstrating empathy involves a commitment to understanding and respecting each person's individual needs, helping to create an inclusive and empathetic communication environment. Here are some important points related to the importance of accommodation and empathy in communicating with people with disabilities. Communication adaptation. Personalization of communication techniques. Adapting communication involves identifying and using appropriate communication techniques for each person based on the type and severity of the disability. This may include using plain language, using sign language, writing text in large print, or using assistive devices. Flexibility in interaction methods. People with disabilities may have different needs and preferences regarding ways of interacting. Communication adaptation involves flexibility in the use of different methods of interaction to facilitate effective communication and access to information. Creating an inclusive environment. Adapting communication helps create an inclusive environment where all participants feel accepted and respected. This involves removing communication barriers and facilitating the active participation of people with disabilities in online courses. Understanding individual needs. Empathy in communicating with people with disabilities involves the ability to understand and recognize their individual needs and experiences. This involves active listening and paying attention to each person's specific needs. Respect for autonomy and dignity. Empathy and respect for people with disabilities includes recognizing and respecting their autonomy and dignity. It is important to treat each person with respect and to promote independence in communication and decision making. Promoting inclusion and equality. Showing empathy and respect when communicating with people with disabilities helps promote inclusion and equality in online courses. These aspects are fundamental to creating a positive and supportive environment for all participants. 3. Conceptual definition of the human interaction link. The human interaction bond in online courses for people with disabilities refers to the empathetic and respectful connection between facilitators and learners, taking into account individual needs and capabilities. This link involves empathy and respect in online courses for people with disabilities, communicating in an empathetic and respectful way, taking into account the unique experiences and perspectives of each learner. Empathy and respect in online courses for people with disabilities are fundamental to creating an inclusive and empathetic learning environment. These aspects not only facilitate effective communication, but also contribute to promoting a positive educational experience for all learners. Empathic communication involves active listening. Empathy begins with active listening to learners. This involves paying attention to the individual needs, concerns, and experiences of each learner, regardless of their disability. By listening carefully, we facilitate effective information exchange and productive interactions. Encouraging active participation. Fostering an environment where each learner feels encouraged to actively participate helps to develop mutual trust and understanding. Empathy means providing space and support for each learner to express their thoughts and perspectives without fear of judgment. Recognition of diversity and uniqueness. Respect means recognizing the diversity and uniqueness of each learner. It is important to be aware of individual differences and approach each learner with sensitivity and consideration for their specific experience. Promoting autonomy and independence. Respect in communication with disabled people involves promoting their autonomy and independence. It is essential to support each learner's ability to make decisions and actively participate in the learning process, giving them the space and resources to express their potential. Eliminating prejudice and stigma. Empathy and respect involve eliminating prejudice and stereotypes related to disability. It is important to foster a culture of acceptance and understanding within online courses, where each learner is treated with respect and dignity. Adaptation of the learning environment. Respect also means adapting the learning environment to be accessible and inclusive for all learners. This may include the use of assistive technologies, providing alternative options for accessing information, and ensuring a universal course design. These aspects contribute to building a relationship based on mutual understanding and support between the educator and the learner. Here's how empathy and respect can be integrated into an online course for people with disabilities. Empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand and feel the emotions and experiences of others. In the context of communicating with people with disabilities, empathy involves being aware of the difficulties and challenges these people face in everyday life and online learning. Through empathy, the social worker can communicate in a sensitive and responsive way. Listening carefully and showing an open and understanding attitude can make people with disabilities feel validated and respected. Tailor communication. Empathy can help tailor the message and tone of communication to individual learners' needs, creating a friendlier and more accessible environment. Provide support and encouragement. By showing empathy, the social worker can provide emotional support and encouragement in the learning process, thereby facilitating learners' progress and confidence. Respect. Respect is an essential pillar of effective and inclusive communication. Respect in communication with disabled people involves recognition of dignity and individuality. Respect means recognizing and appreciating the uniqueness of each learner without making assumptions or stereotyping about their disability. Use of appropriate language. Respect is reflected in the use of neutral and appropriate language, avoiding derogatory or offensive terms related to disability. Promoting autonomy and choice. Respect involves involving learners in the decision-making process and offering options for adapting content and teaching methods to individual preferences. The benefits of empathy and respect in communicating with people with disabilities. Increasing confidence and comfort in the online learning environment. Improving collaboration and interaction between learners and educators. Facilitating the learning process and increasing student motivation. Building a more united and supportive online community. By promoting empathy and respect in communication with people with disabilities, a more inclusive and supportive educational environment is created where each learner feels valued and understood, thus contributing to their success and achievement in online learning. By integrating empathy and respect into online courses for people with disabilities, we can build relationships of trust and collaboration, promoting positive and empathetic learning experiences. These aspects are essential for developing an inclusive educational community and for creating a space where every learner feels valued and appreciated. Thank you for your attention.